Welcome to the Sports Authority. Thanks for staying up. I'm Harvey Smilovitz. Need your fantasy facts? We'll have them on the bottom of the screen. We've got complete coverage of today's Bengals game, and our Who Asked You guys offered their thoughts. We kick off our coverage with all those wonderful highlights. Marshall Harris, take it away.
Thanks, Harvey. Last week's 5-interception performance by the Bengals, pretty impressive. That is, unless you're the Bears. They've seen this all before. In the mirror, in fact, Chicago put off the very same feat in last week's laugher against Detroit, but no Bears laughing about today. Local 12 photographer Scott Straw at Soldier Field this afternoon. Cincinnati's defense picks up where it left off last week. Rookie Kyle Orton hits Justin Gage on the Bears' first play from scrimmage, but he can't hang on. Ball falls in Brian Simmons' lap. He's up and running. Gage knocks it loose. That's okay because Odell Thurman picks it up. 23-yard return, and the Bengals have it at the 18. Then Carson Palmer makes it a one-play drive. The rope to Chad Johnson from 18 yards out. Bengals up 7-0 less than 2 minutes in, and Johnson's got that river dance for the people, the Irish jig. After swapping 3 and outs, Bears have it 3rd and 11 at their own 35. Orton has Bobby Wade, but Keywan Ratliff has Wade's route on lock. Ratliff's second pick of the year sets up Cincinnati at the Bears' 36. 3rd and goal now at the 5. Palmer to T.J. Houshmandzadeh for 6. But wait a minute, flag on the play. Chad Johnson called for a pick and pass interference. Bengals settle for a field goal on a 10-zip lead. Second quarter, more Bengal D. Orton trying to move the chains on 3rd and 5. This pass, good for a first down, but it's going the other way. Torrey James gets the ball underthrown for Mark Bradley, his second straight game with a pick. Bears defense holds, but that just means Orton's back on the field. He's already thrown 3 picks, so what's one more? Going deep for Muhsin Muhammad. Madieu Williams sends Orton off the deep, and his first of the year. Orton with as many picks as completions in the first half. Good for a QB rating of 5. Turning the turnovers into points, not easy. Palmer with the shuffle pass to Chris Perry. Brian Urlacher pops it loose. Lance Briggs recovers for Chicago, and then Thomas Jones, well, he just gets loose. 17 yards on this pickup, down to the 36. Bears actually outgained the Bengals, 110 yards to 72 in the first half, but after a personal foul, the Bears, they have nothing to show for it. Doug Bryant's 39-yard field goal goes wide left. Bengals up 10-0 at the half. Third quarter, after throwing 5 interceptions his entire senior season at Purdue, Delta O'Neal helps Orton match the total in one day, taking what was intended for Muhammad, league-leading 4th for O'Neal. This time, Carson able to cash in on 2nd and 10. Pump fake, and then it's Chris Henry proving he's for real. 36-yard touchdown in tight quarters. His first as a pro makes it 17-0 Bengals. Fourth quarter, Bears finally get on the board. Jones dives in from 2 yards out, part of a 106-yard day for him. Bengals lead cut to 10. 3 plays later, 7-11, living up to that self-given name. Carson finds a wide-open Chad down the sideline for a 40-yard touchdown pass. Palmer just 16 of 23 for a $169, but 3 of those completions, touchdowns. Bengals pushing up on 3-0. 5 different Bengals with picks, but Delta's trying to lead the free world in turnovers. Orton hits Wade, who gets hit by Ratliff. Ball out. O'Neal on the scoop. 6th turnover on the day as he and the Bengals run away with a 24-7 win. The Bengals are the first team to record back-to-back 5-interception games since the 71 Browns. Their 16 takeaways and plus 12 turnover margin are league best. And the 12 INTs through 3 games, that's one more than all of 2002, the season before Marvin Lewis's arrival. The Bengals are 3-0, one of only 5 teams still perfect. The offense, with its 11 starters back, has not disappointed, but the defense has been more than just a pleasant surprise, giving up less than 10 points a game and getting props from everyone inside the locker room.
Defense is playing ridiculous right now. That's not even called for. At the rate they're going, giving us the ball back, we can put up 50 a game if we wanted to. As long as they continue to play that way, we got to catch up to them and start playing the way they are.
There's going to be games where this offense is not going to be prolific, right? And I'm sure it's going to be a lot more. And no one was giving our defense any credit, and it was all going to the skilled guys and all the guys. But that defense, man, has been keeping us in ball games, and I'm sure that they're going to win a lot more ball games for us.
As long as our offense keep putting points on the board, we want them to get talked about, you know. So we just try to come out and hold the team to less points than what our offense score, and that's our objective every week.
Hands down, I feel like we got to be the best out there, you know, and there's no other way. And if we could just keep up what we do and keep up the hard work, it'll show for it.
We won't make light of this. We're going to feel good about this, but Houston, and that's it. And guys know that yeah, you know, don't down this win. Feel good about it. But next week, we got the Texans, and that's where our focus should lie on when we get there tomorrow to work.
Tonight, you make the call. Why is the Bengals defense so improved this season? Is it the draft picks, more experience, defensive line pressure, new defensive coordinator Chuck Bresnahan's schemes, or the lack of injuries? Call 345-1212 to vote. We'll have the results a little later in the show. Harvey?
Marshall, thank you very much. Should be interesting to see the results on that one. Still to come, highlights from the rest of the AFC North, plus the rest of the day in sports. And Brad's hanging out at the Bengals set.
Skinny and I break through this whole stuff of 3-0. What's real and what's not? It's coming up after the break. Richard Skinner, 1360 Homer, the sports animal. You're sporting a little dew. You got the hair work in here.
I know, I do.
I don't know.
Got the Jim
mean,
Katie comb over, I think.
I'm not supposed to start an interview like that, but
That's
I'm just
all right.
noticing. I just want to
Thanks.
let you know we're staying in. How big is this? 3-0. Apparently, as we look through the opponents that they've dealt with so far, this is a pretty decent team.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, granted, if you look, you know, Chicago's probably not going to be a 500 team. Minnesota's probably iffy to be a 500 team, and so is Cleveland. But it's the manner in which they're doing it. I mean, today wasn't an overly impressive display of offense. You didn't expect it to be because Chicago does have
They're
one
really
good
good
thing.
on defense.
They are really good on defense. They fly to the football. They make plays.
Unbelievably fast.
Yeah, but again, you look and it's still a 17-point win, and they kneeled where they could have made it a 24-point win.
I'm shocked at all of this. You go through the statistics, 2 for 14 on third down conversions, and they scored 24, should have scored 31, may have scored more than that. What's the reason this team can be so dominant? Is it simply just turnovers because they're getting a ton of them?
Well, we're going to find out because they're not going to continue to get 5, 6, 7 turnovers every week. But offensively, though, I mean, you still have so many guys who can make big plays. You know, Chad's touchdown, first or second touchdown came on a big play. You know, Chris Henry gets a big play. You know, you still have Chris Perry's potential to make big plays. You have T.J. Houshmandzadeh's potential to make big plays. Occasionally, you get the tight end down the seam to make big plays. When you've got so many guys to make big plays, you know, it's nice to have sustained drive. It's nice to not have to go 2 of 14 on third downs. It'd be nice to go 10 of 14. But you know what? You also have to have the ability to make big plays and, you know, score like that. And they have that ability too.
But it may be simple enough that this, as we have said, and Marvin Lewis has said, endless coaches have said, the single most telling statistic in the NFL is if you take the ball away, you will win games.
Yeah, I just don't know if you can rely on that. Now, granted, some guys teach ball hawking, some guys teach being aggressive. You know, there's, you know, times to strip the football. And yeah, there's no doubt. If you take the football away, you're going to be better off. But I don't know if you can always rely on that. The one thing this defense is doing, aside from turning people over, is they're also getting stops. I mean, they're getting stops when they need to. And, you know, that's the other part to this. We've looked offense, takeaways, but this defense is getting the job done for the most part.
Okay, while we're on the defense, let's go to the you make the call question. What is the reason this defense is so much better? And we have the inclusion of the draft picks. We have the inclusion of the experience. You have defensive line pressure, which there is very little of at this point. Is there anything, Chuck Bresnahan?
I think there's about 3 or 4 things you can point to. I'm not sure there's one specific. One is the opposition. Let's face it, Cleveland's not going to be an offensive juggernaut. You know, Minnesota finally got out of the hole a little bit today, but they're still, I think, suspect.
Cleveland only
about what
loses
they can
by
do.
a touchdown to Indianapolis.
But they only score 6 points offensively, though. They're not a great offense. What I'm talking about is just looking at the offenses they played. Chicago's not going to set the world on fire, but look at the pieces they've gotten over the last 3 years in various and sundry ways. You know, you get John Thornton and Brian Robinson through free agency. You make the trade for Deltha O'Neal. Suddenly the light bulb seems to have gone off for him. You get Torrey James. You get the draft picks with Mediu and with Landon Johnson and with Odell Thurman. I mean, it's 3 different things. And then I think Chuck Bresnahan, one of the things we talked about with him is keeping it simple. That's his whole thing, is about keeping it simple. And if you look, they look like they're a pretty simple defense of just making plays, being around the football instead of, you know, constantly blitzing. And maybe that's a better scheme for this group.
I talk about Odell Thurman all day long. I don't mention David Pollock's name too much. Is there reason for concern with that at this point?
No, because I think he's going to eventually make plays. You know, let's not forget, he was a bigger playmaker in college than Odell Thurman, and no, that doesn't always translate to the NFL. But I think, too, let's not forget, who was in camp from day one, basically?
Right.
Odell Thurman. Who wasn't? David Pollock. And I think he's still paying the price for that a little bit.
Cedric Benson is paying the price for that in Chicago.
Exactly. And you're seeing, I mean, he can't get on the football field for them.
Because Landon Johnson really wanted to play, Thomas Jones really wants to play, and if you miss an entire camp, you're going to pay for that.
Exactly.
Carson Carson Palmer's a really good quarterback. Is he the best quarterback in the NFL right now?
He's the hottest. There's no doubt about that. You know, it's one of those cases, too, and I was thinking about this when you look at some other quarterbacks in the league. You know, Eli Manning is in his second year as a starter, and Eli still, when you watch him play, makes mistakes that Carson doesn't make right now. You know, again, Carson, the first 2 weeks we talked about it, threw the ball into traffic a couple of times in the end zone. But when you've had 6 straight ratings of over 100, look at some of the opponents. New England on the road, Baltimore on the road, Cleveland on the road, and now Chicago on the road. It's not like he did this at home against a bunch of cupcakes. He's done this on the road 4 times against some pretty good opponents. That's a quarterback that's not just blossoming, that's already arrived almost.
This is a team that suddenly seems unfazed by going on the road, which is extremely impressive. Coming on the road is Houston. They're going to come to PBS. This is a team that is really out of sorts and dealing with another hurricane situation this week. Is this another blowout situation? And can you become overconfident for Houston?
Sure, and that's the one thing you can guarantee that Marvin Lewis will try to guard against. In fact, you know, some of the talk after the Minnesota game was how overconfident would this team be. They didn't play overconfident today. They played the exact level you would have hoped for, and I just don't see that creeping into this team yet. I think they have a set goal, which is the playoffs, and then whatever happens beyond that. I don't think anything's going to deviate from that. There's going to be times when they're not going to play good football. I mean, every team goes through it. Every team's going to lose a game where you go, how did that happen? But it's not going to come this week, I can tell you that much. And I think that this team will continue to play focused until something adversity hits, and then we'll see how they deal with the adversity.
The interesting thing is how much we can talk about and pour over the stats and still talk about 9 penalties for 77 yards, 2 for 14 on third down, only throwing for 169 yards. And yet this team has so much to be able to improve upon, and they've won by more than 14 points every week.
That's the other great point, too, Brad, is you know, it's not like suddenly they've hit a peak. I thought about that today, too. I thought, well, are we watching them start to peak? No. I mean, there's still a lot of stuff to clean up and get better. You know, you talked about the third down conversions. That needs to get better and will get better. The penalties, you know, Chad Johnson's pass interference in the end zone wiped out a touchdown.
Bogus call.
I'm not disputing you on that, but it was the call. And, I mean, again,
right.
Those are the things that need to get cleaned up and will. And, you know, I still think they have a lot of potential ahead of them. I mean, you talk about Pollock. Let's wait till see what happens when he starts making plays on defense.
It's kind of fun.
It's kind of interesting.
It's really wacky, Harvey.
Why is the Bengals defense so improved this season? Chuck Bresnahan gets the nod. Then the vote goes to more experience. Thanks if you're one of the hundreds who phoned us here tonight.
3 out of 3 is the idea Marvin had when he called for a fast start. But after 83 straight starts, mainstay right tackle Willie Anderson is questionable for the Texans. Willie left in the first half Sunday with back spasms. He's going to have an MRI Tuesday as he struggles to come back 8 months after microfracture knee surgery. He still thinks he'll go Sunday.
It's a serious knee injury that takes some time to heal up. I mean, some guys, it ends some guys' careers, and some guys it takes 2 years to get them going, to get back to full speed. But with me, you know, I'm trying to push myself to say, hey, I'm ready to go right now and help the team win and come back, you know, to prove to myself that, you know, I can still play at a high level.
Oh, he can play at a high level. Don't forget, we'll be taping another edition of Bengals Nation show this Wednesday night live at GameWorks. You can ask the coach some questions via satellite. Try a little play-by-play. Collect some autographs. Torrey James, Medea Williams going to be on hand. GameWorks at Newport on the Levee Wednesday. Evening, everyone. Day off for the 3-0 Bengals as they're getting ready to start work on Week 4. Houston needed a bye week after starting 2-0 or I should say 0-2, firing their offensive coordinator. They have a total of 2 touchdowns, 0 turnovers, which makes them all the more dangerous.
Each week, I believe, the more we continue to win games, the more Coach Lewis and the coaching staff, they're going to push us because they know how it is, how the more you win in the teams you play, they're going to give you all their effort, but they really want to be the first team to beat you. But being 3-0, it's so early. You don't have to worry about that right now, but they're going to push us hard, so it won't be a letdown, I tell you that.
Join us at GameWorks tomorrow night, Bengals Nation. Torrey James, Medea Williams going to be there on hand for autographs. Your chance at a play-by-play job. You win a Marvin Lewis autograph football. Ask Coach questions via video feed.
It's like a no-hitter in baseball. No one at Paul Brown Stadium wants to talk or even think about injuries, especially to Carson Palmer. But for Marvin Lewis, right down the chain of command, the Bengals sleep better at night because they have Jon Kitna. And for that reason, Kitna is not for sale. Not even if the quarterback-challenged Jets call, which, by the way, Lewis says they have not. Good backup quarterbacks are hard to find and tougher to keep. And Kitna has fans in high places here in Cincinnati.
I'd be happy for Kit, but He's a guy that I can't afford to lose right now. Kit's just a guy I rely on all game long, all week long, in preparation and practice, and then on game day and what getting what he's feeling from the sideline, what he's seeing from the sideline.
John has been just the best professional. He's been a great asset to me and an ally to Carson. And I think that everything Carson does good, I know John Kitna has a smile of satisfaction on his face about it.
Okay, it's not quite as glamorous as the Hollywood sign, especially given that it's on top of a big pile of trash. But they mean well. Mount Rumpke backs the Bengals. This Houday sign went up recently on top of the Hamilton County